My seat jolted again. Owen's foot had found its rhythm. I twisted back, smiled politely, and asked Dean, his father, to please have him stop. He mumbled something about being tired. I turned to Evelyn, her glare sliced through my patience. He's a kid, she balked. I looked to Ms. Clara Mitchell, the flight attendant, who whispered, let's not escalate. My chest tightened. The passive crew, the dismissive parents. So I was alone in this. I clutched the armrest. The empty row across the aisle looked like freedom I couldn't reach. Owen leaned over the armrest and began humming loudly in my ear. Can you not? I asked gently, trying to smile. Evelyn rolled her eyes. He's just expressive, she snapped. I pressed the call button. Ms. Clara Mitchell appeared but only offered a strained grin. Maybe ignore him, she said. My fingers curled into my palm. No one cared, not even the people paid to. As Owen tossed his toy into my lap, I looked again at the empty row. My dignity was unraveling, seat by seat. I stood, walked to the back, and quietly asked to switch seats. Ms. Clara shook her head. Flight was full. I returned to mine. Owen was now bouncing a ball against the tray table. I reached into my bag and pulled out my headphones. Dead battery. Evelyn laughed. Not so zen now, huh? The smirk stung. I glanced around. A man offered a sympathetic nod but said nothing. I folded my arms, burning in silence, powerless again. As Owen kicked harder, I snapped, enough. Evelyn gasped, loud and theatrical. Are you yelling at my child? Ms. Clara reappeared, this time firm. Let's all calm down. I laughed bitterly. He's been kicking me for 2 hours. Clara's lips tightened. Let's keep it civil. I stared at the overhead light, blinking back tears. This wasn't conflict. It was dismissal wrapped in smiles. I needed to reclaim something, even if small. I eyed that empty row again. With no permission, I rose and claimed the empty row. Clara opened her mouth, then stopped. I stretched out finally, peace. Then Owen stomped down the aisle and stood beside me. Mom says you're mean. Evelyn leaned over and snapped a photo. You'll regret this. I froze. For what? I asked, stealing our space. She marched back. My chest heaved. I wasn't the villain. But now, I had their full attention, and maybe, just maybe, control. The walkers glared from their row, whispering and pointing. Owen whined that his feet were cold. He couldn't kick anymore. I crossed my legs and smiled faintly. Ms. Clara passed, paused, and finally offered me a soft sorry. That single word felt like a gavel. I wasn't wrong. I had rights, even in cramped sky cabins. I wasn't rude. I was resilient. As I adjusted the seatbelt and leaned back, the empty row became more than space. It was mine, my line in the sand, drawn at 30,000 feet. When we landed, Dean blocked the aisle, trying to corner me. You made a scene, he muttered. I stood tall. No, I made a choice. Evelyn hissed something about reporting me. Ms. Clara stepped forward. She didn't break any rules. Passengers began whispering, some nodding at me. That subtle support, the kind I had begged for earlier, finally arrived. As I walked off the plane, I felt the weight lift. I had drawn a boundary and defended it. No apologies, just altitude and self-respect.